Is there anything else that was appealed to you for being an IGL?
Have you seen Chessboxing?
Yes, I have.
Or have you heard of it? Yeah, this is what is appealing to me.
Hello, welcome to an interview with a Vandal. I'm T, and today joining me is unryL, the IGL for your Vandals EU side. So, unryL, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing really good. I'm excited to get into this content creation on the side of Vandals as well. Help you guys out with that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been, since I joined, looking for a way to get involved with the team. So I was thinking, why not start with a series of interviews, get the IGL done first, but then try and get the other players as well. You know, hopefully they're down for it. They haven't done much in terms of interaction, have they?
I've actually spoken to them a few times about it, like whether or not they want to do some content. And there's a couple of them that are down, but also a couple that aren't.
Fair enough. I mean, they're young guys. I think for them it's a bit awkward putting themselves out there like that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's start with an easy question. How did you get into playing Counter-Strike?
I got into CS a long time ago, like really, really long time ago when I was 3 or 4 or 5 or something.
Jesus.
Because my mom introduced me to it, like this Russian version of CS. Basically an exact copy of 1.6, but for the non-European, non-Western fan base. Brazil also has the same Crossfire, you know.
Crossfire?
I don't know if you've heard of it.
It rings a bell. Isn't it also what they used to play in Korea, or is that... Am I going crazy?
I think it is. I'm not sure. It has a little bit of an esports scene nowadays, but it's very, very tiny. It's very small community. But she got me into that a long time ago. It's a really old game. And from there, I was playing it for every now and then. I took a little break from it when I was... Actually, I can't tell you exact ages, but I took a long break from it, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I got back into the next first-person shooter, which was CSGO, back 2 years ago, because some friends introduced me to it.
Wait, you've only been playing Global Offensive 2 years?
I have.
Jesus. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and some friends introduced me to it. The same friends that I was playing competitive, actually Fortnite with. They wanted to switch away from the game. This was 2 years ago. It was dying at this point, so don't hate me for it, guys. I quit as well.
You quit? So you quit competitive Fortnite?
Yes, I did.
To play CSGO. I mean, it's just wild to me because when I see you guys play, people who play at the open intermediate level, I always assume they've played for longer than me in Global Offensive. Sure, that doesn't account for like other games, but still, like.
I'm an exception to this. Actually, I'm just an exception. Everyone else on my team has like 4 or 5 years, 7,000, 8,000 hours. I have 4,000. I got onto my first team with 2,000 hours, and this was after 1 year of playing.
Well, to be fair, that 1,000 hours per year. I mean. 2,000 hours in a year, that's pretty committed for someone who's casual or not fully into the game.
It was.
Damn.
I knew that when I got into that, I wanted to go big in this game, and if I keep improving at the rate that I am now, that's why I also put out this tweet that you will see me playing at majors in 2 years.
Yeah.
Because if I double my hours, double my skill, that's basically going to put me around that level.
Right, well,
I would say.
You do wear your ambitions on your sleeve, like many people wear their emotions. You're quite open about your confidence and your belief in yourself, aren't you?
Yeah, I am, very.
Oh, that's a good thing. I think
I don't see the point in hiding it, so.
Fair enough. So that actually kind of leads me to the second question, which was, how long was it before you started competing and looking for ESEA teams, that sort of higher level?
Yeah. So I have this actually in my brain really good because I remember a lot of details here. So I started playing CS, or I bought the game, right? I bought the game the day that it became free, and that really pissed me off, so I didn't play it for a couple of months. And I think the first ever time I actually played CS was in January or February of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
That was like my first ever casual games, and I was actually playing Danger Zone before I got into the actual 5v5 because I just got off of Fortnite, the Battle Royale, right?
Yeah, so sure, makes sense. Yeah,
that seemed more familiar. I really hated it.
Fair enough, I agree, it's terrible.
Yeah. Danger Zone is truly terrible.
I really don't enjoy it, yeah.
Even now that I've played CS for a couple of years, I still hate it. And it wasn't a good start, so I didn't get into it too seriously until March and April, where more and more of my friends started getting into it.
Mm-hmm.
From there, I just kept playing matchmaking with my friends. Basically every player has a story like this, right? But the difference is that more and more of them fell off and stopped playing. Meanwhile, me and one other guy, Ogi, actually, we...
Oh, really?
Yeah. You know him. Me and Ogi are actually still playing together a lot. I know him in real life and everything like that. but he was the one that got me into CS mainly, and he was the only one that stuck with me for the most part after everyone else left. So we were playing matchmaking for a while until maybe August of 2019, where he took a break from the game, and he hasn't really came back since. He hasn't kept grinding as much as he was then since. So he's basically still on hiatus, only playing like sometimes, you know. I kept going, even though I didn't really have anyone that I knew. I just kept going. I kept playing matchmaking. I kept trying to find some people in this like global offensive discords, like maybe get some people that I could play with regularly, because I knew that I wanted to be good in this game.
Yeah, at this point, so this is like 7 months into playing Counter-Strike. What sort of rank are you at this point?
I'm maybe Distinguished Master Guardian or LE.
Right.
Between this, I think. Around this point, I actually started trying to make Face It teams. I was still level 3 and 2 at the game. Maybe 1, I don't remember. And yeah, I met a guy in this time. His name is Edwards. And I met him completely randomly in a matchmaking game. And he actually lives 100 meters away from me. Went to the same school and everything.
It's pretty random, yeah.
Yeah. And he was on the enemy team. I just added me because I seem like a chill guy. We don't talk anymore, but he was really good. He elevated me as well. I played in his team with a couple of his friends, and that's my first ever like team.
Okay.
That was a matchmaking team. We had some Face It games, and yeah, that was like my first team where I was calling. I had never called before, but I went into the IGL role. I started doing some research, trying to see how it's going. I had no idea where to start.
Wait, so you the first team you're on, you're an IGL, which...
Yes.
Okay, so that's what my next question was, why be an IGL, obviously, and what pushed you in that direction? But it seems like you just became it out of nowhere.
I mean, I don't know. I feel on that team, the personalities didn't click for anyone else to call, so I just took it, I guess I could say.
Huh.
And since then, I really, really enjoyed doing it. Of all my teams, there's only been one team that I've not been IGLing for.
Okay.
And that was later on. Anyway, I'll keep going with this story on how I started playing competitively, like for actual ESEA teams. Because this team with Edwards, this only lasted for a couple months, really. From the late end of 2019 to early 2020. I think the midnight of the last day of 2019, like December 31st or something, I was level 1 on Face It. And 3 weeks later, I'm level 8.
Of course, that's the story. That's me too, you know.
Yeah. Just relatable, yeah.
Very
we
relatable.
Started playing, yeah. We were playing with this team with a couple different guys in Face It, and we literally couldn't lose a match. I went through level 5 and 6 without losing a single game because of that.
That's kind of absurd.
That is
kind
crazy,
of ridiculous.
That is absolutely crazy. I don't know how, because I wasn't that good still. I was on 1.8k hours at the time, 1,800.
Yeah.
And yeah, from there, I actually, do you know this? No, you don't know. Never mind. I was gonna talk about this Sherps guy, because after this team with Edwards,
I know who he is.
Yeah.
He is a content creator for the Vandals. I know who the roster is.
Yeah, that's true. He was my... This is one of the teams. Actually, there's 2 teams that I've not been calling for. And this guy was my first actual IGL with a team of other level 8s and 7s and 6. And that's how basically I got into the competitive scene, where we started practicing and actually doing shit.
Yeah.
Basically 1 year into my CS career.
Weren't you playing in ESEA Open with Serbs at some point?
We were not, but he was coaching a team that I was playing Open with. He's never been in a match with me on my team.
Okay.
But yeah. So yeah, to answer that second question, how long was it before you started competing and looking for ESEA teams? Roughly 1.5 years. 1 year to 1.5 years.
Okay.
And yeah.
Already on the circuit at that point. That's...
Yeah.
It's quite a quick. Yeah.
It is.
But yeah, so at that point, as you started competing, you were borderline already in IGL. You'd already called for teams. So, aside from just naturally stepping into it, is there anything else that was appealed to you for being an IGL?
Yeah, I really enjoy this tactical side of CS. I really enjoy it. I really like that I'm able to Have you seen Chessboxing?
Yes, I have.
Or have you heard of it? Yeah, this is what is appealing to me. I don't just like doing one of them. I like doing, although I've never done it. It's like a metaphorical sense. In CS, I like doing both. and that's
Okay.
why I was doing it.
You like the strategy, the outthinking of an opponent, but also punching them in the mouth. Both of them are key. Okay.
Exactly.
That is a pretty fair analysis of what Counter-Strike is like at times, though.
Yeah.
Chessboxing. Like, you can be smarter than your opponent, you can be stronger than your opponent. Either way, it kind of works.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so that was a series of events I was really not expecting. Kind of embarrassing to be told that you got to my sort of level of play in about a year, and it took me way more than that, and then I never went any further. But aside from that, let's move on to this IGL stuff. Now, I'm really curious. How would you explain the IGL's role in-game?
Okay, so I can summarize this in two ways. I'll start with the short one, and then I can go over to the long one. The short one is basically the IGL's responsibility is to set up a system and create cohesion within the team. And from there, you can do various things, like you can have the IGL be the main voice during the rounds, or you can have him be a lesser voice and have players call for initiative. There's a lot of ways to do it. But the main idea that every IGL needs to have is he needs to set up the system where everyone knows, okay, this guy is going to call for, let's say Zello on my team, he's going to say, I can peek long guys, and everyone knows exactly what to do. That's a system, that's protocols, and those are built by the IGL for the most part.
Okay, so those built primarily outside of game? Or, okay.
Very much so. We spend maybe the same amount of time actually playing practices and officials. We spend the same amount of time discussing what we want to do.
Okay, so let's combine this with kind of the next sub-question I had. So inside, outside of game. I was going to say, like, what about outside of game? But it seems like a lot of the initial work is not actually in the game. It's more about creating something, and then afterwards in-game, it's variable, so who's actually calling things.
Yeah, very much so. In our team, I'm doing most of the mid rounds and the early rounds, like maybe 80%. However, in other teams, let me take FaZe Clan as an example, because I watch Kerrigan a lot. He's one of my favorite pro players to study.
Okay.
And he makes these videos, right, with communications. You've seen him probably.
I might have seen a clip or two, but never watched the full detail.
Yeah. Something you can notice is Brokey, the Oper, the youngest guy on the team, is doing half the mid rounds because he has a lot of trust placed onto him by Kerrigan. Okay. So it's very different from team to team. For example, also in Astralis and their comms, Glaive is rarely calling, actually. He's talking very little. It's because of how much they've prepared outside of the server that it doesn't need to say anything in the server.
Okay, so it's almost like... Well, it feels like the IGL's kind of more of a coach for the most part outside of game, like a second coach if you have a coach.
Yeah.
Then in-game, as you seem to be describing it, it's very varied, very flexible as to who actually has to have the main voice.
True, it is. Okay. Yeah.
Wow, So the other way I've always thought about the IGL position was not necessarily one of strategical guidance, but more of just like man management, leadership type of role. Like, do you have any thoughts on that?
This is probably the one aspect I think to myself that I struggle with. Because I'm still a young guy, obviously, and I don't really have too much experience in working players, especially players that are older than me by a couple of years. Sometimes it's going to be hard to manage personalities and egos, especially for a guy like me. But that's like, we have a saying, everyone in the CS scene at our level knows this. If the IGL tilts, the game is lost, because every other player is like I don't know, he develops his own thoughts based on what the IGL thinks. So if the IGL is tilted, all of the other players on the team are going to be tilted. Okay. The IGL needs to be a really, really good role model. Okay,
so from one point of it, so maybe the man management directly talking to a guy you're not maybe that comfortable with, but the example you set, the way the energy you radiate into the team is very important.
Yeah, very, very important.
Okay.
You cannot be an IGL that's very quiet and very, very submissive, basically, in the way that you can have a guy say any idea that contradicts yours, and you will always let him do it. You have to have a strong voice, basically.
Okay.
Otherwise, you will have no respect by your players, and they're going to be able to get away with things that are not good to get away with.
Okay, so if in-game you're not strong, your out-of-game protocols you prepared probably won't get respected, followed to the exact degree you want them to.
For example, if you have a small voice, people would think that you know nothing about the game just because of how you never give your own opinion. strongly. You don't defend your opinion strongly, so maybe it's not the right opinion, and you know it. That's what players may think.
Yeah.
So it's very important that even if you are not sure about your way of playing CS, as long as you present it in a very smart way and you present it in a very confident way, then your players will believe in you and you will execute it properly. And it might even work, even though it's a bad idea. As long as everyone believes in it 100%, it might even work.
I am fully on board with that notion that a confidently, well executed, like assertively made terrible play is more likely to work than a good play done by people who don't really think it's going to work, who are half invested.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, that's correct. Absolutely.
See, guys, I'm big brain too.
Yeah, you are.
Okay, well, that's an interesting insight into sort of like the IGL role that I've never really thought about it like that. I've never really paid attention to, like, in pro teams, who's making the actual calls.
Yeah.
In my head, it's always been very heavily focused on, the IGLs doing the calling, the IGLs, making those little decisions second to second.
Yeah.
But, maybe that's just completely wrong. That's just a misguided thought that the fans seem to have rather than actual players.
Let me put it this way. If you're playing on Dust 2, and this is like the reason that you don't have IGLs lurk for the most part. If you're playing on Dust 2, and let's say you're going to put the IGL, in this case myself, on a B lurker, how are you ever going to have information? Like, sure, your teammates can communicate to you what is happening on short, mid doors, long, wherever. But at the end of the day, there's always something that's going to be lost in communication. And you won't be as effective. As an IGL, you need to be very, very central on the map to get the most information. And when that information is happening in other areas, let's say you do want to do the B lurk as an IGL, then you have to rely on other players to make the mid rounds based on the info they have. For example, the long lurker, who in our team is Cormis, he says they don't take long guys. Then Zelle is going to flash him out long from T-spawn, and he can take the control there. And basically, Cormis just did a mid round on his own. Let's take long because they didn't take it. Without my input at all, even because I'm playing B, right?
Yeah, so the mid round has to be made by the person who has the most accurate information for that exact scenario.
Completely. The player that has the best read and knows that his plan, if he takes control, is the most likely to succeed, needs to do the mid round.
Okay. Fascinating, yeah. It makes perfect sense when you explain it. It's just never something you think about.
Yeah.
At least for myself, I never thought about it like that. Okay, well, moving on to sort of this level, now we're here. Last season with the Vandals, you were on a team that was in ESEA Open. This season, I believe, is your first in Intermediate.
Yeah, it is.
I think I'm right on that. So,
you are.
How much of a step up is it from ESEA Open?
Now, my teammates, some of them believe that it's actually easier to play Intermediate than it is to play Open. I completely disagree. The teams here are much better, in my opinion. I think that this is the best season individually for me as well, because I'll always keep improving, right?
Sure,
so even if I don't improve as much, I'll still be better today than I was 1 day ago, let alone 2 months when I was playing that Open season.
Fair enough, yeah.
So for me, it's really fascinating that I've been able to compete at the level that I looked up to 2 months ago. I wanted to be an Intermediate. I wanted to play with these teams because I always admired how they play. Now I'm playing with them and I'm making playoffs.
Yeah, man, I feel real good.
In the same way that I admire main teams and advanced teams, I take it one step at a time. Maybe next season will be in main.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
Let's hope it keeps up, like, with this level of play, because playoffs in Open, playoffs in Intermediate. If you do make it through the playoffs this season, could we see this five, do you think, make a realistic run in main to maybe not necessarily get playoffs again, but at least secure a reasonable foothold in the division?
If we make main, we make playoffs in main next season. Because this team improves really, really fast. Compared to literally any other team I've been on. The only reason that we're doing this good is because we are improving so much. At the start of the season, it was basically like an Open team. There's 3 new players, a new IGL and 2 new riflers that are also very vocal. Nelov is not really a vocal guy, and Zelle is an Oper that has a lot of experience, which is good in a team, but at the end of the day, that's still one person only. It's basically a brand new team. And those teams usually start out in Open, right? So, I have this saying where hours directly equals to skill, which means time makes you better. And we have made ourselves really, really better. Like our first game, it was a 16-5 victory. Come on.
Yeah.
And from there, we have just been going up. That game we could probably 16-0 today.
Yeah, I was going to say.
The Vortex guys that we 16-1'd, they are way ahead the Polish guys that we 16-5'd. And we literally 15-0'd them. Like, that shows progression in its own, doesn't it?
That was an incredibly dominant win over a team who weren't even that bad coming in. That's why, me on the on the cast saying could expect a bit of a battle here, end up watching a slaughter. So, it's a big step that you guys have taken. Because that first team you played, the team you 16-5'd, either they've bailed out of the league or they haven't done very well in Open, to put it kindly. I think they're one of the lower ranked teams, and the level of opponents you guys have faced as the season went on has gone up. Like, it's noticeable.
Like, we got an overtime loss against the 6th best team in Norway. Come on, these guys are playing national divisions and playing the pro teams from this country. And we barely lost. We lost this game. They didn't win it. We lost it. Because Zella just had to hit one shot. No offense, Zella, but you're a bot.
I remember casting that one. It was brutal. It was a tough loss. Really tough loss to take.
It was a very tough loss, but we move on from it like we do from every game.
Okay. So I'm going to ask about some more internal politics stuff here, but there was some turmoil at the end of season 37, the last season in Open. Like, could you shed some light on what happened and what led to this massive roster overhaul?
I can. So, me, Bunzi, Jib, Shini, and Sultan was the roster for that team. We were speaking English. I'm from Norway, Sultan Swedish, and the other 3 were French, right? That's some context. That was the team for last season. We went 12-4 in Open, made playoffs, and lost in playoffs. To the first game, not making intermediate on map 3. Was a 2-1 defeat. Me and Bunzi and Sultan have spoken for a while up to that playoffs point on what we want to do with the future of the team, right? And we decided that we are not getting enough practice, and we need to make not one change but 2 changes, because there's 2 players. There's 2 players that are holding us down due to scheduling. So we kicked Jib, we kicked Shini because of scheduling issues, and individual performance of them wasn't that bad, but they were also slow learners as well, all in all. So
Okay.
So when we kicked them, that was a little bit of a shock for them. They didn't expect it, I think. But it had to be done. I believed in Sultan. I believed in Bunzi. I still believe in Sultan. We're still really good friends to this day. He's one of the, maybe 5 people in total that I respect in the CS scene a lot because of his dedication and grinding.
Okay.
Now, Bunzi, on the other hand, this guy is a snake. Let me tell you. So what happened is we just got Cormis. I've been speaking to him for a while, even while the season was on. Like, we knew that we were gonna play together sometime, and the plan was to play with him, with Bunzi and Sultan and another guy. So we got Cormis on board. We started practicing as 4 there. He instantly made the team. This guy is insane, literally.
Yeah. Cormis is a pretty fucking good player.
Yeah, especially on that level, which was Open. He was definitely shining. And now we have a core of 4. We have me, Bunzi, Sultan, and Cormis. We just need one guy, right?
Yeah.
And we ended up getting a guy called Saint. He was from Israel, I think. But we massively overestimated him in practice when we were trialing. We made the wrong choice getting him. But it was already too late in my mind to change that and kick him now that everyone else wants to play with him. Except for Cormis. I don't think he did. And I'm literally making the design. I'm making the design of P Kilo, like the one that we made for this team announcement.
The announcement.
I was making that, and I was sending it to the group chat, to Harry and Demon, and saying, "Can you guys announce this tomorrow at this time? We're all ready. We're all ready to destroy now this season." What ends up happening is the minute that I sent the image to the team, I get a DM from Sultan saying Bunzi is trialing for another team. And this Bunzi guy did not tell me anything about this. He didn't tell Sultan anything about this because, and he just told me that he won't be there the next day because he needs an off day. And Sultan says the reason he's not coming tomorrow is because he's trying for another team. I tell this guy, is this true, man? Are you actually doing this shit? We just got a roster. Can you not do this? And he says no, and he starts flaming me for a lot of things that were very, very weird to flame about. Like, for example, motivation. My motivation is by miles the highest in that team. And he just decided that he was not gonna want to play with me, so I decided to kick him. and Bunzi was a top 3 player on that team along with me and Koremis.
Yeah.
Individually.
Sure,
So now
yeah.
it's just me and Koremis and Sultan, who no offense, but I don't think you're ready for intermediate. And the Saint guy that I'm not happy with anyway. So what ended up happening is I ended up leaving that project and looking for other options. Then Koremis and me, we decided to look together after that.
Mm-hmm.
And we found a couple teams that were trialing, and we got into this one right here with Nello and Zella. They were also trialing Rocky as a third and us two as a duo, and that ended up working really good. So they took us, they agreed to take Rocky as well, and now we just started grinding from there, like on roughly July the 7th, 6th, 8th, something like that.
Yeah, around that time. Early July, we'll call it that.
Yeah, early July, for sure.
Okay.
So yeah.
So it's a bit of a weird one. So you tried to make some upgrades that you thought were necessary in terms of playtime, and then just things hit the fan towards the end. I didn't realize Cormies had joined the Vandals that soon, though.
It wasn't announced. It was never announced.
No, but I know you talked about you looking to find a team with one other at some point.
Yeah.
You're like searching for 3, and I was like, I couldn't figure out who the second was. I didn't realize that was Cormies this entire time. I thought it might have been Sultanen or something.
No.
Okay.
I decided to part ways with him from there.
All right. Well, that clears some of it up, because I'm sure some people who follow the Vandals saw some of the Twitter not backlash, but like hurrah, hoopla that happened around it, because there was some things said, some people tweeting.
Yeah, I just want to say as well that Sultan is one of the best teammates you can have as well. The only reason that I did decide not to play with him another season was because I think that although I have to be patient in order to see him be talented, I was not patient enough at the time.
Okay.
I knew that he would be good, but I didn't want to wait for it. I wanted it now. I was greedy. I just lost the season 12-4 and I didn't make intermediate.
Okay, I think that's
I just wanted to get into that.
Somewhat understandable, to be fair.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's nice to clear those sort of things up. So let's get more into some more positive stuff, some more current things as well. So this is the first season of Intermediate. You made the playoffs. Was that your expectation coming into the season?
Coming in, we thought it was going to be a normal season with 16 games, and we were 100% sure that we were going to make the playoffs because of how fast we were improving even then.
Okay.
However, when we were 4-4, I think still thinking it's going to be 16 matches, that's when I started doing the math and realized, we need to play. We have 8 games played. Out of the next 8, we can only afford to lose 1 in order to make playoffs. We had to go 11-5 because that's what it was last season as well, with 64 slots. And I realized that that's probably not going to happen considering we're meeting another really good team.
Yep.
And yeah, at that point, I thought, okay, guys, let's forget about the playoff dream because mathematically that's very, very unlikely right now. Let's instead focus on getting 6 wins and take it from there, yeah? And just a couple days ago, 4 days ago, I think, no, 6 days ago, on the 10th, when we won the Dust 2 game that you forgot existed.
Yes, I forgot some Dust 2s happened. I was on holiday, to be fair.
Yeah, it's fine. But you need to follow the Twitter, man. You need to watch the results and everything. So, yeah, this time, I remember that our team actually realized that, wait, there's only 14 matches. We're already in top fucking 80. Sorry for the word use. You might want to cut that out. We're already in top 80. And we can actually do this, guys, We just realized that, and we started grinding even harder than we were. And we were grinding really hard, but we started grinding even harder there.
Okay, yeah.
From there, that was our expectation. We thought that we're going to make it. Yeah, these teams are not seeming too good. We can definitely beat most of them, which means we're going to probably qualify for playoffs.
And you did.
We did, yeah. We're currently top 64. And I think top 96 makes playoffs. It's been 2 days and we haven't moved from the top 64 spot.
Yeah.
Even when we lost, we were still like top 60, top 64. Before we lost, So yeah.
So yeah, no, it's quite an achievement. I think we've pretty much confirmed it though now, right?
Yeah, we have. We are 100%.
100% confirmed it, so that's all good.
Yeah.
So now that brings me into the next question. So I guess isn't much of a good question, but how different is it to prepare for a best of 3 compared to a best of 1?
So this is hard for us because we have currently as strong maps on Vertigo, Overpass, and Inferno in that order. 3 maps. For a best of 3, you need to play 6.
Okay, yeah.
Right? So we need to learn 2 new maps in the span of maybe 10 days, 1 week,
Yeah,
something
no
like
pressure.
that. No pressure, yeah. Especially with those 2 maps being, I'm not going to reveal it, but we have not practiced them at all in the last 2 weeks or more.
Jeez, okay.
Like, that's going to be really tough for us, I think. But it is what it is. We can move on from that, probably. We can probably hope to get our best maps as well in those 3. So yeah, we'll just hope that it goes well there.
Okay, so
now,
kind of winging it on some maps, but you've got at least a solid basis of 3. So
yeah. We can guarantee that if it's going to be those 3 maps in a best of 3, we'll probably take it 2-0 or 2-1. I don't think we're going to lose. We're really good on Overpass. We're pretty good on Vertigo, and we're also good on Inferno. Good enough to beat most teams. Now, that's the maps part, but it's more about that, more than just maps, right?
Yeah.
It's also on. Not only do you have to anti-strat your opponent on 1 map, which is difficult enough, you also have to do it on 3. Right? You also, on top of that, have to try to read what the map veto is, because the team that you play in the best of 3 is only revealed a couple days before the actual match. So you have very limited time to figure out what maps they play, what maps they're likely to pick, and what do we focus our energy on.
Yeah.
Rather than with the best of 1, where you can predict over the course of a season what maps they have played and how they're going to play based on previous demos. And you can do that in weeks in advance.
Yeah, because you do have quite a lot of sort of warning on best of 1s.
Yeah. So best of 3, first of all, you have to learn it, or you have less time to prepare, and you have to prepare more. So
yeah. It's double whammy of extra
like,
difficulties.
That makes yeah, exactly. Less time, and you have to do more.
Yeah.
That's very hard.
I can imagine. So here I want to do something a little different to what we've been doing so far. I want to go into some quickfire questions. Now we're going to try and keep it single word answers or just short answers if you can.
Okay.
But yeah, so let's start with some easy stuff. So who's your favourite CSGO player?
Rain.
Favourite flavour ice cream?
Chocolate.
Cats or dogs?
Both.
Okay. Who's the best IGL in Intermediate?
Me.
Of course. Favourite nade in CSGO?
Favorite story? What?
Nade in CSGO. Specific nade.
Flashbang.
Nice. Favourite colour?
Red.
And do you have a CSGO crush?
Rain.
Love him that much, do you?
I do.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining me. That's about all I have time for, or we have time for as a channel. So if you have any shoutouts, go ahead. If anyone you want to shout out, thank for your success so far.
Yeah, so for my success, it's been down to 4 players. It's been Sherbs, my first IGL. It's been Edwards, the guy that got me into teams. It's been Cormis, my greatest teammate of all time. And it's been a guy called Hitchy, who I really, really respect as an IGL, and that's the guy that I played in the team with and I wasn't calling. So he was my, you know what I mean. The second guy to ever call above me. And I really, really respect that for him for that. He taught me a lot of stuff.
The Vandals EU side have made it to the playoffs in Intermediate. You can, of course, catch all the action on the Vandals HQ on Twitch. Follow on Twitter for updates, new releases, and, of course, scheduling. The Vandals HQ, subscribe. There's going to be more interviews with the players coming out hopefully soon. Well, not entirely sure because it's a bit of a hectic schedule right now for the players, but hopefully soon. And yeah, that's all for this one. Goodbye.
See ya.